Good morning, everyone.
You are now unmuted.
How are you all? I'm okay. Thank you very much. So, if we remember that
You are now muted.
we talked about something that three-phase neutral and the voltages that we get in between each phase and neutral, and we took it back to that 400 volt, and then we understood that the voltage between each phase and neutral will be 230 volt, right? So I'll come back to that one at some point today, but not now. So what I'm going to start today is the introduction. Like I mentioned in my previous class, that there's a huge gap between the practice in real life and what we learn in this module. So I want to bridge the gap as much as I can. It's not possible, but let us try. So I'm going to start this chapter today, uh, which is related to the power systems, the basics, the fundamentals that we must know about power systems. And it's not in the top in our syllabus. So that is why I told you that in the beginning, I give you an introduction to each and every chapter, which is not considered for test and examination and all those things, but it's very important in terms of learning, understanding the power systems itself. So let me go to the first slide of it. And as you see here on the slide, that it talks about three things, the power systems. Now, power system is a system. You can see from the words, it is called power systems, meaning it's a system in which power is involved. Right? Is that clear?
You are now unmuted.
Hello? Yeah, it's a system in
You
which
are now
power is
muted.
cleared. Power is involved. Now, when we talk about power, we know that there are different types of power. What are those? Different forms, whatever you call it. What power are we talking about here? Can you give me a word or two? Hello, I need some answer from you all the time. What type of power are we talking about here when we talk about power systems? As I have mentioned, that is a system where power is involved. Yeah, I see some words, electrical power, that is correct. And any other type of power do you think is involved in this power system or not? Real power? Yeah, I'll come to that one. Thank you for that answer as well. What other power are we talking about? Any other answer? I will still wait for one more minute. You know those words, just think a little more. Reactive power, yes. Thank you for that as well. What more can come in? What more can come in? You know those words that are related to this power. Hmm? Give me one or two more words, please. Apparent power, that's good. What else? AC power. That's good as well. What else can come in? Okay, thank you for whatever I have very much to you. First one, electrical power is correct. So we talk about electrical power when we refer it to power systems. It's electrical power systems. That is what we need to learn and understand. So electrical power is involved in this one. So it's correct. But there are other forms of power is also related to it. When I'm saying other forms of power is also related to it, we need to know what are those. But before we go there, what is power? What is power to you?
You are now unmuted.
Voltage times current, that is good. What else? How you can express the power in your understanding. Voltage times current is power, that is correct. But there are other forms of understanding power is rate at which work is done.
You are now muted.
That is also correct. And I need a little specific word which is somehow related. That's a very good answer. Rate at which work is done. Something related to that. I want something related to that one, that rate at which work is done. Energy, that's the correct one. So it's the rate at which work is done, and it's the rate of energy, right? It's the rate of energy. It can be consumption, it can be production or generation. Now the first bullet point that you see there, before I come to the generation of electrical power, I'm going to the power. I asked you what are the other forms of power. It's not only electrical power, it's also mechanical power. Because when you talk about this word energy, that I wanted to hear from you, and you gave me the word. Thank you very much for that. It's the good one. That's the right one. So when we talk about energy, if we remember the school days, what we learned about energy in the first place, after we learned that energy, definition of energy, what we learned immediately after that, something related to conversion of energy. What was said? What we were taught about that energy conversion?
You are now unmuted.
Energy is yes. It cannot be destroyed. That is true. But before you destroy it, you have to generate it. If you create, you have to create it. So what is mentioned there, or what I'm trying to say, is that energy neither can be generated nor can be destroyed. That is the
You
one.
are now muted.
And then that is related to the one that is coming, that what we do in the process, we convert energy from one form to the other. We convert energy from one form to the other. Is that clear?
You are now
We
unmuted.
convert energy from one form to the other. Now, as we see that power is related to
You are now
energy,
muted.
power is the rate of energy. So what we do, we convert power from one to the other. So that is why electrical power, when it is electrical energy, it can be related to electrical power. It's easy. So we have had a kilowatt hour yesterday, right? So if we take that kilowatt hour and we want to find the rate, meaning we divide it by time. That time is in hour there. So if we divided that kilowatt hour by hour, we get kilowatt. That is the power. Right, that's electrical power, and that kilowatt you get that from the multiplication of voltage and current, which is right. Now, when you talk about this electrical power, it comes from electrical energy. So it cannot produce or generate electrical energy. We need to convert other forms of energy to electrical energy. From where it can come? It can come from mechanical energy. So mechanical energy is there, so mechanical power is also there. So we can take other forms of energy. Like these days we have wind energy, we have wave energy, we have solar energy. So wind power, wave power, solar power, right? Energy from water. We also get on energy from water. So that is related to mechanical energy due to level of the water where it is stored. So we have different forms of power that is related to power systems, not only electrical power, not only electrical energy. Right? Is that clear?
You are
It's
now
not only electrical power, it's not only electrical energy. There are many other forms of energy present in this whole system. That's why I was focusing on energy yesterday, that it is involved with energy and many forms of energy, mechanical energy, mechanical power, solar energy, wind power, wind energy, wave energy, hydraulic, meaning energy from water, and so on. So with the generation or conversion of other forms of energy into electrical energy. So we start with the process of conversion of other forms of energy into electrical energy. For example, I can have a solar panel.
You are now muted.
These days we see it very often around our households here and there. So what do we do there? We convert solar energy, the energy that is in the light, into electrical energy. So that is a conversion process. That conversion process takes place in the panel and we get electrical energy, and then that converted electrical energy is consumed by a number of appliances or in number of appliances that we use in our houses. Right, that's the small one. We can put a wind turbine, so we can get wind energy, and the turbine will rotate. And the rotation means what? It's mechanical energy. That mechanical energy is converted by a generator into electrical energy, and the generator will supply electrical energy or electrical power to the loads, electrical loads that are connected to it. When we say electrical loads, what are loads? The laptop, fridge, your television, your kettle, your electric stove, your geyser, all those electrical appliances are the electrical loads. Right. Now we go from this wind energy to hydraulic energy, water energy. Like we build big storage dams where we store water to a very high level. So because of that high level and stored water, the water contains energy in it. And then we utilize that energy to rotate another turbine, which will be water turbine. We call it hydraulic turbine. Like wind turbine is hydraulic turbine because it works with water. So that hydraulic turbine will rotate. Again, we get mechanical energy and we connect a generator with that turbine. And then we get the converted energy into electrical energy. And again, the loads are connected to it. Now, if we go to the conventional one, the ones that we have been using since long, wind, solar power, these things are a bit new. It's only for a few decades, last few decades. But the old ones are the conventional ones that I'm going to go to now. The conventional ones were mainly coal-fired power station, where we use coal as the primary source of energy. And then there was nuclear power stations where we use nuclear fuel as the primary source of energy. And we also had that water hydraulic power stations where you use water stored at a very high level in the dams. We use that water as a source of energy, mechanically stored. Right? And then we also had other small ones like gas turbine. We also have another smaller version, which is diesel engine power station. South Africa is still using it during load shedding time, which is not a good thing in terms of pollution. So what we need to know that there are different sources of energy available in the nature. We just make use of them to convert into electrical energy using different types of technologies. Like for example, to convert wind energy, we need a wind turbine. To convert water energy, we need a wind turbine. To convert energy that is stored in coal, that energy is stored in chemical form. Coal is nothing but a combination of a number of chemicals, right? So carbon is there. We burn that coal, meaning we burn carbon, and we get the heat energy. So we get the heat energy, we utilize that heat energy to boil a certain amount of water. When we boil the water, what happens? We generate steam, we produce steam, meaning now in the steam we have heat stored in it. We utilize the heat energy to convert into mechanical energy in a steam turbine, because that turbine uses steam, so that is steam turbine. And to that steam turbine, we connect a generator to convert that mechanical energy into electrical energy. So that is the conversion process. A lot of things happen behind the generator. And sometimes some of us think that I'm an electrical engineer. I am supposed to know what is a generator, what a generator does. That's all. I don't need to worry about that steam turbine, or if I go to a nuclear power station, there will be a turbine, or how the nuclear fuel is being consumed or burnt to produce heat energy and to produce steam, and all those. Those are mechanical things, chemical or other people's stuff, not mine. That's not true. Then it's fine. I can take that. Then what will happen? I will never be a complete one. I will know only the generator. But what will happen? I will have to wait for other people to burn the coal, generate steam, rotate the turbine, and then only I can connect my generator to the load for the lights to be on, the kettle's boiling water at my home, and the television to be on to allow me to watch generation. So that's not a good thing. So we need to know all those things. So all of those things are involved in the process. So primary sources of energy are there, and then we use a number of technologies like wind turbine, solar panel, steam turbine, hydraulic turbine, gas turbine, diesel engine. Diesel is also a fuel which has a lot of energy content in it. So we utilize all those facilities to generate electricity or electric power or electrical energy. And when we use the word generate, actually we don't generate, we convert, but we use the word all the time. But we have to remember this, or every time we use the word, we generate or generation of electrical power or generation of electrical energy. It's actually the conversion. So what happens in those power stations, like if I go to a specific one now, let's say steam turbine power generation or coal-fired power generation or thermal power generation is the same thing. Some people use different terminologies for this. So in a thermal power generating station, what do? We have a boiler where we generate steam using coal. So we get coal from coal mines, different types of coals come in, and then we grind them, meaning we make a pulverized form of the coal, meaning it's like powder, like those spices powder that you use for cooking. Sometimes women use powder on their faces to make them more beautiful. It's like that. So we burn that pulverized form of coal to get the heat energy, and we utilize that heat energy to generate steam, and then the steam is utilized for rotating a turbine, which is called steam turbine. The generator is connected to load. And when we coming to that generator now, because you are electrical engineer, you will like to know more about the generator, you need to learn all those things. So when it's a generator, it's a big generator. very, very big generator at the power stations. It's the very big power generator. Like for example, sometimes some of us who are very rich, they have a small generator at home. When load shedding happens, they go there and they start the generator so that they can have electricity at home. So what are the ratings of those generators? Very small. It can be 1 kVA, it can be 2 kVA, it can be 5 kVA, it can be 10 kVA for a bigger house, and so on. Is that clear? Normally, we use very small rating, lower rating power generators at home. Those are normally diesel engine operated. Like I was saying that diesel engine operated power stations are there in real life as well, in South Africa and in other countries. So the small rating of electrical generators are applicable to smaller loads because they can apply, they can supply only low amount of electrical power or energy to the loads. But if we go to the power generating station, power conversion process, we're going back to the big one, very big one, supplying for the whole country or part of the country. They are very big generators. For example, I'm giving an example of a generator for a power station. One generator has a rating of 500 megawatt. Right? So that power generating station has a number of generators in it. It's not going to have only one generator in it. It does not make sense in terms of economy. We remember that all the time. You have to remember the word economy. I cannot have a power station supplying electrical power or energy to the consumer or doing the business. At the end of the day, it's a business. So I would like to have more generators, 4 or 5. So I might have 500 megawatt rated power generators, electrical power generators. At the back end, for each and every generator, there will be that thing, the turbine, the boiler, the coal pulverizing facility, coal storage facility, everything, all the controls behind. But now I'm focusing on that 500 megawatt. So that 500 megawatt electrical power generator is supplying power or electrical energy to the consumer. That 500 megawatt power generator supplies electrical power or current, right? So if I want to imagine how much will be the current from that 500 megawatt generator, can you calculate that? How much will be, how many amperes will it be? I'm asking how many amperes will be the current supplied by the generator whose rating is 500 megawatt. You have to do the calculation. You have the calculator, I guess, with you. Do the calculation and tell me the value just now. Do the calculation and tell me. How many amperes it would be if we have a 500 megawatt generator? How many amperes we can get from that generator? I have not seen any answer yet, but it's okay. I'll give you 30 seconds more. Show me some answer quickly.
You are now unmuted.
400 volts. Okay, whatever volt you think is right, you can use it. It's fine. You'll tell me the answer. How many? Write it down on the chat box.
You are now
So I
muted.
can see it. (1.25 mega ampere using 400 volt, right?
You are now unmuted.
And then any more answer? I need more answer.
You are now muted.
I need a little more answer. (500 megawatt, 11 kV, what will be the current? How much is going to be the current if it is 11 kV? Current is 26 kiloampere. So that answer seems to be correct. So what I'm trying to say, when we have a generator, big generator like 500 megawatt, we cannot have 400 volt. The reason is that, as you can see, if you chose 400 volt for its operating voltage level, it's okay, no problem. You can choose it. But what will happen? The current is 1.25 mega ampere. But if you increase the voltage to 11 kV, meaning 11,000 volt, the current is coming down, but it's still high, 26 kiloampere. And when I'm saying still high, as compared to other appliances that we use at home. For example, what is the power rating of a kettle that you use at home for boiling water to make a cup of tea? What is the power rating of a cable that you use at home for a kettle to make a cup of tea? Yes, 1500 watt. For that, how much is the current? For that 1500 watt, how much will be the current? (6.5 ampere), that is correct, is according to the voltage of 230 volt. So I'm asking another question. If you remember, if you have used a kettle, you remember the size of the cable, power cable that is connecting the kettle to the power socket, how thick it is for that 6.5 ampere. Do you remember, or can you imagine? If you have seen a picture, it's something similar to that thickness of the power cable that you use for your laptop or computer, which is in front of you at the moment, if I'm not wrong. Am I right? That's the 5 millimeter conductor inside the insulation. Now, for that 6.5 ampere current, you need a 5 millimeter conductor cross-sectional diameter, nominal diameter 5 millimeter. So for 1.25 mega ampere, how will it be? How many millimeter you will need? Can you imagine? What will be the thickness or the diameter or the cross-sectional area, whatever you want to consider, how thick it will be for 1.25 mega ampere? Can you imagine that? So what we do when we have big generators like 500 megawatt, we don't run them at low voltage. We run them at higher voltage like 11 kV. Sometimes some generator producer manufacturers will produce them at 10.5 kV, 11 kV, 11.5 kV, or even 17.5 kV, 15.5 kV, and so on. So the voltage is now higher, 11 kV, 10 kV, 15 kV, and so on. So what we do, we try to reduce the current. The reason is that I was trying to show you that the diameter, conductor diameter that we need, it will be huge for 1.5 mega ampere. We can't carry that one. We cannot manufacture that one. We cannot handle that one. We cannot lay out that type of conductor in real life. So we have to reduce. Not only that, if we want to imagine the power loss that will take place in the conductor, corresponding to 1.25 mega ampere, will be huge, because the power loss is what? Power loss is I squared R. So you can imagine 26 kiloampere squared times its resistance. And if you compare that with 1.25 mega ampere squared times its resistance, you will imagine the difference in power loss. So what we do, we increase the voltage from lower level like 400 volt to some reasonable voltage level, 11 kV, 10 kV, or 15 kV, or 17 kV. So those generators supply power to all the parts of the country, everywhere, in each and every country, doesn't matter where we are. After that, we come to something called the transmission. Now, the power generating stations since olden days, they are sitting at remote corners of a country. Like in South Africa, we have almost all our generators sitting in Mpumalanga, because coal is available there. A power generating station, nuclear power station, is in Cape Town, Kuba. We have some water available in Drakensberg, in KZN. So it's centralized. It's located at a particular center. It's not distributed. It's not in Durban. It's not in Pretoria. It's not in Johannesburg. It's not in Pietermaritzburg, where power is being consumed. Power generation takes place far away from the center of consumption. So for that reason, we need to transmit that generated power in power generating station to the consumption center or the load center. The actual word is load center, meaning where the load is centered or the load is located, like Durban, Pretoria, the cities, the villages where the people are using electricity. So the power needs to be transmitted. For that, we use transmission lines because they are far away from the load center. So use transmission lines. Those transmission lines do not operate at 11 kV. If I have a 500 megawatt generator operating at 11 kV, we still need to think about transmission of power over hundreds of kilometers distance. Like we are sitting in Durban, we are receiving electrical energy or power from Mpumalanga or from Cape Town, like thousands of kilometers. So we cannot transmit that power at a voltage level of 11 kV because the current will be too high still, although it is 26 kiloampere, sounding much lower than 1.25 mega ampere. We still increase the voltage to a level, we call it transmission level voltage. So we step up that voltage using a transformer in the generating station. So immediately after the generator, we have a step-up generator that steps up the voltage from 11 kV to a higher level. In olden days, it was like 110 kV, 220 kV. Then it was increased to 400 kV. Now we have 500 kV, we have 760 kV, and so on. So we go on increasing the voltage so that the current becomes less and less, so that the power loss is less. So those transmission lines are operating at very high voltage, 400 kV and upwards these days. If we have a new transmission line these days, we won't even think of using 400 kV. Probably we'll go for 760 kV and so on, or higher. So we reduce the current by increasing the voltage in transmission lines. When that transmission lines are going to be terminated, they will come to a station called substation. electrical power substation. So normally we have overhead substations. We also have indoor substations, underground substations as well. Indoor and underground, they are different. Indoor means just indoor. Underground means underground. So overhead, indoor, underground, all those different types of substation where we step down that voltage, because we can't use 400 kilovolt at households or in industries, because the power is going to be used in households, in commercial businesses, municipalities, agricultural farms. Those are the load centers. So what we have to do now, we have to step down the voltage to some lower level. So from that 400 kV, for example, we will step it down to 220 kV. Then we run another line using transmission towers to another substation where we step down the voltage level once again. Let's say we step it down to 33 kV. From 400 kV, we step it down to 33 kV. That 33 kV line will run around the city, on the outskirts of the city. From that 33 kV, we will step it down once again once it reaches a particular load center. Let's say I'm sitting in Glenwood area, a transformer will be located there. That will step down the voltage once again to 11 kV. From that 11 kV, I will use another step down transformer to go to that 400 volt three-phase star connection, neutral, from where we will get to 30 volt for connecting our single phase loads or appliances. Is that clear?
You are now unmuted.
Okay, that's good. So that's how all these processes take place. But it's not that easy. I just took 2 minutes to explain how these things happen. In the electrical power generating station, we convert energy, other forms of energy into electrical energy. Then the voltage is stepped up to reduce the power loss by increasing the voltage, decreasing the current, and then we come to transmission line with high voltage level. Then we step down the voltage to another level, another level, another level, until or unless we reach the level of 400 volt for three-phase application and single-phase applications. But there are some industries, big industries out there in each and every country, manufacturing industry. They use large motors in their applications in industry. They can have supply at higher voltage level as compared to 400 volt. They don't use 400 volt. They use 3.3 kV, they use 1.1 kV, they also use 6.6 kV, they also use 11 kV motors. So they can take the supply from those substations at that particular voltage level that they need. So they communicate to the supply that I need 11 kV supply, I need 6.6 kV supply, so my supply should be at 6.6 kV rate. For them, the supplier will provide them like that. They have a different rates of paying for electricity consumption and meeting their particular requirement. So different voltage level application is also there. It's not that everyone is having 230 volt at the houses and industries and everywhere, right? So we come to the distribution, meaning we distribute electricity. When we distribute it, we have to consider what type of consumer it is. Is it household consumer? Is it consumer located at the businesses, commercial cities, commercial places, and all those things? Or is it an industry, big industry? For example, a big industry can also be something like that railway, train, or the metro rail. They are also the consumption of electrical energy. So they're taking the electrical energy at higher voltage level. They're not taking electrical energy or consuming electrical energy at lower level like us at homes or educational institutes or anywhere like that. So when we distribute it, we need to know something more, that when we consume electricity, we don't consume it consistently. Like I'm in my office now, so I put my lights on when I enter the room. But before that, what was happening? The light was off. So when I'll be done at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the evening or 8 o'clock in the evening, then I'll go home, I'll put the light off again. So what is going to happen during this time when I'm in my office, the light is on. When I'm not in, the light is off. So what does that mean? I put my lights on and off as I need or as I wish. But if I put my windows on here, I can put the lights off. I can see the sun is today is good. I can utilize the sunlight and put the lights off, save some electrical energy, save some money. Right? So it depends on the consumer. It depends on the time, how I'm going to consume electrical power, right? So it's the consumption. Now, the people who are sitting back in the generating stations, they are supplying me what I'm consuming. Does it make sense? What I am consuming or using here in my room or your room, what you are consuming electrical energy is being supplied by the generators that are located in Mpumalanga or in Cape Town or in Drakensberg. Does it make sense?
You are now unmuted.
Okay. Now they don't know when I'm going to put my light on. They don't know when I'm going to put my light off. But they need to supply immediately. I put the lights on. They need to reduce the generation immediately when I put my light off. So how does it happen, or how is it possible? They don't know, because we need to know that electrical energy cannot be stored. It is generated and consumed at the same time. Electrical energy cannot be stored. It is generated and consumed at the same time. So when I'm consuming, it has to be generated at the same time. When I'm not consuming, the generation has to be reduced. So how does it happen? Meaning there needs to be some sort of control. So generating stations not only convert other forms of energy to electrical energy, they also have a lot of controls over it. They need to predict what time is it of the day now. Is it 8 o'clock? So less people are at home, more people are at work. Those workplaces will consume more electrical energy than households. In the evening time, people are at home, so they will consume more electrical energy. They will put their television on, they will put their stoves on for cooking. Some of them will go for shower. The geysers, they consume a lot of electrical energy. They need to know that. When it's 10 o'clock in the evening, all of them are done. Cooking is over, no shower almost in every places. Maybe few of them are still watching television. 12 midnight, people are sleeping. Very little electrical power consumption. Only the refrigerator is on. You understand that part? So the consumption varies from time to time, from day to day, from season to season, all the way. And the power generating stations, the people, the electrical engineers, the power engineers are supposed to respond to those changes all the time. So that is all about the business in a very short period of time. And that is where all these things are involved: control, monitoring, automation, involved in the process of power generation, transmission, distribution, and control. And of course, we cannot forget about the most important part, which is the protection. You can imagine you have a car, you want to come to campus, driving that car, and you get into the car and you find that the brake is not working. Will you come out with that car or not?
You are now unmuted.
You won't come out, because brake is the protection that is going to protect not only your car, that is going to protect your life, and not only that, the lives of other people or living beings if they come in front of your car. The protection part is very, very important. So all these things we do in electrical power systems is a huge, huge, huge thing in each and every direction. If you take anything generation, you can spend all your life. If you take transmission, you can spend all your life. If you take distribution, you can spend all your life. If you take protection, you can spend all your life. If you take control anywhere in generation or anywhere in transmission, in control in distribution system, you can spend all your life. So it's a huge business everywhere, but we need to spend our time to understand all these things, starting from the very basics. Like I asked you and I got a good answer, correct answer. What is the rating of an electrical kettle that you use at home, which is 1,500 megawatt. Some other manufacturers also produce like 1,200 watts. Some other manufacturers might produce 2,000 watt as well. So you need to just spend some time to find out what are the appliances that you use at home, just to get an idea. What are the appliances that you use at home? What are the power ratings of those? Because at the end of the day, you'll be an electrical engineer. So you come out on the street one day in the afternoon to enjoy the sun, and somebody will ask you from the neighborhood, if I'm using a heater because it's winter now, I'm paying a lot of electricity bill. Can you tell me what is the reason? Then you can ask him, okay, how much you are paying? Like I was asking you yesterday, how much are you paying? Then you can calculate and tell him that no, you are paying the right amount. And you can also guide him, no, something is wrong. You are paying less or you are paying more. But if you don't have idea how much is the power rating of an electric heater with a fan, then you wouldn't be able to tell them or guide them. But what will happen if you can't tell them? Then you say, okay, what kind of electrical engineer are you? If you can't tell me I am paying the right bill or not, I don't have idea. I didn't like those electrical fan or electric heater when I was studying engineering. I just skipped it. Or it was not in my syllabus. It was not in power systems. It was neither in machines. Don't worry. Go and enjoy your life. What will happen? People will laugh at us. So try to get that list just for you to have you won't remember all those numbers all the time. It's not possible. But at least you will have some idea. Just do it today. Okay. So I thank you once again for this class. Tomorrow I will start the Kelvin's economy law. This is from this session. Today I will not ask any question in test that I mentioned earlier, and I'm confirming that today as well. If you have any question, you can ask before we close.